they have halal options as well. And they're very good about their halal options. They have quite a few. They're coming from Australia. They're coming from Creekstone. So definitely like their steak, I took my husband there and he tried it and he was like, this might be the best steak that I've ever had.
The Halal Food Podcast, brought to you by Halalrun, the #1 guide to halal eating options in the US, Canada, and the UK. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to the Halal Food Podcast by Halalrun. On our show, we interview the talent, the entrepreneurs, and the creators who power the halal food industry in North America. And we also celebrate inspiring Muslims from all walks of life in general. Today's guest is Alia Jessa, a talented halal food blogger who posts under the handle The Halali. Alia has an interesting perspective because she was born and raised in Toronto, which is one of the halal capitals of North America, but now lives in Miami, which is smaller and up and coming when it comes to its halal scene. So she's got a great view on both of those. So if you enjoy this conversation in this episode, be sure to hit that like button and leave us a comment saying hi. Now, without further delay, let's jump over to the talk. And we're here live with Alia Jessa, who is otherwise known on Instagram as the Halali. Alia, assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the podcast.
Wa alaikum salam, and thank you for having me.
Alia, first, we'd love to hear about your background, right? Tell us about your background in general. Users love to hear the stories that our food creators and bloggers have, and how you got into food.
Yeah, absolutely. So my background is that I actually am born and raised in Toronto, so the halal city of the world. So that's where I was, and I had a passion for food. So I was always that person that people would go to when it came to halal food or just asking for restaurants. So that was just kind of my background from ever since I was really young. I would always enjoy looking for like the best place that was going to have the best type of food, and then we would just go as like friends or families, and it was just really something that I enjoyed. So that's kind of the starting. And then what I do, like what I ended up doing was I moved to New York. And from New York City, what I noticed is that as much as New York, in the suburbs and whatnot had amazing halal food, if you go out to Jersey or if you go out to the Queens, I didn't find that there was really that much in New York City itself, in Manhattan. And that's where I was living. So I got married, I moved to Manhattan, and I was like, there's something missing in the blogging industry. And, there was a couple bloggers out there at the time doing it, but I was like, you know what, I need to find, more halal places in the city, and I need to tell people about it, because anytime people would come to the city, they would ask me like, hey, Alia, give us your list. Like, we need to go and eat the best places. So that was kind of where I started blogging, and that's where the passion kind of started for the halali. In terms of what I do outside of blogging, I actually work at a bank. So I do that. I'm on maternity leave right now. I'm a new mom of an 8-month-old. Yes, thank you. Thank you. So right now I'm on maternity leave, so it gives me more chances to eat and bring a little one and find halal-friendly places for littles. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
And now I'm in Manhattan myself, but I understand that you are no longer with us here.
No, I'm not. So I've moved out to Miami now, and another place where, halal food there's not too much over here. There is, but you really have to look for it. You really have to find it. So I'm hoping to kind of bring that market, and start telling people about all the really great halal places. But yes, we've moved down to South Florida, and I miss New York. I miss the halal food, but I'm enjoying the weather, so.
Yeah, like LeBron, you decided to take your talents down to South Beach.
It's true. It's true. Follow the best.
So you've had a very unique perspective because you've seen, the halal scenes in what are probably the two biggest Muslim populations in North America, Toronto and New York. And now you're in a city where there's probably a much smaller Muslim population. So how, two different questions. One, how, growing up in Toronto, right, did you see the halal food scene change there over time? And, how would you say the halal food scene in Toronto and New York compares to what you see in Miami?
Okay. So starting off with, born and raised in Toronto, how the change happened when it came to halal food. I think when I was growing up, it was harder to find halal food, but there was always a large Muslim population. So because of that, we were able to still find things. And, within your community, people tell you word of mouth. It's nice. It's easy to, find places when everybody loves, there's a few that everybody kind of goes to and loves. So for example, like Restaurant Malaysia, and that's in Richmond Hill. It was a go-to for everyone. We all loved it. Like that was something that, was a place that we would enjoy. But growing up and seeing that, there was only a couple of places, the cuisines were kind of pretty limited in terms of maybe you'll have one or two Thai spots. You'll have one or two really good Indian spots and, a few Pakistani spots that are really good. But you don't really have like diversity, or you don't really have like, the burgers were pretty simple. And now I feel like as time has gone on and as I've gotten, through this kind of seeing the blogging is really big with it and a lot of people on Instagram, and there's a market for it. And I see that a lot of people want it. And so because of that, restaurants just went and started booming. So for example, like Best Burgers in Toronto, it's hard to find it because there's so many. They're amazing. So I remember Burginator, for example, was like one of the first that had like a gourmet burger. So just to see the evolution through, time, it was really interesting to see. And it was really nice that, we're able to now find some of the best stuff. Whereas back in the day, I feel like, it was, I'm going to say basic, but it was basic in a good way. But now it's just, you have so many options and so much opportunity. The other thing I would say is that, it's become something that everybody is now able to, see that, there's a halal restaurant, but it doesn't limit you to just halal. So a lot of regular restaurants will also offer halal that are, not offering it for the general public, but they'll have items on their menu that really, cater to the halal market. So that's something that's kind of evolved quite a bit, I would say. And I think across the board, that's something that is really nice to see because now you have options. So that's kind of the first part of the question. As for the second part of the question, when it comes to Miami and, South Florida or Florida in general, really, there's not too much out here, especially when it comes to, the newer types of restaurants that you're seeing in places like New York and Toronto. New York, you get to try pretty much anything under the sun, right? You know that you have some of the best talent in the world that's all in New York. And that's, when it comes to food, same thing. Whereas in Miami, I feel like now we're starting to see a little bit more of it, or in Florida in general. And we're starting to see like a few places that open up, like where we got a hot chicken place, and that was like a big thing. But you have to travel for it, right? So it's not like you're going to have it right in your backyard, especially if you're downtown. You're not going to find the things as easily. But I do feel like we get to now start to see this market evolve because I think Florida has really taken off, especially after COVID. People are moving down here. And so there's a lot more Muslims coming in. And, I'm even just as a new mom starting to find new Muslim, moms and people who have similar, going to the mosque, going to communities. And you really start to see that, there's a market for it. So I hope that answers the question. A little long-winded.
No, that's great. And it's a good segue into the next question is, our audience loves hearing from creators like yourself, like what your favorite spots are. So the great thing about your background is you have 3 cities to talk about. So one at a time, right? Like in Toronto, in New York, in Miami, what are your top, pick your number, 3, 5, 10 spots, either in general, right? Overall halal food or any specific cuisine. Like this is what our audience loves to hear.
So Toronto, I'm going to tell you like my favorite spots that when I go to Toronto, those are the spots I have to hit. So I worked downtown when I was in Toronto. And so Sukhothai was one of my favorites and still is. It's one of those places that, every single time you go, it's amazing. And Pai, which is, its sister company, it was its sister company. It also has halal options. So similarly, not everything on the menu is halal, but you can go there and get a couple. So that's really good. And then there's Joey's, which, of course, halal steak, you can't go wrong with. So, theirs is some of the best. So if you're going for like a fancy dinner, or like a fancy date, whatever it is, that's a place that I've always enjoyed. And then there's ones that are kind of away from the city, I would say. So, I lived in Vaughan, but, I would travel for food no matter where it is. So Eddie's Walk and Roll, which is up in Mississauga. That's one of the places that, that's the thing about Toronto. Hakka food is incredible, and you get the option to have Hakka food in, some of the best places, and Eddie's always hits. So we would always do that. That's something. And then I can't not say a burger spot. Of course, I mentioned it before. So I would say maybe I'll just do a top 4 for Toronto, and Burger Park is probably my number 1. So that's Toronto for us. I'll go backwards. So New York is next. And what I would say is New York, I just went for a trip to New York, and every time I go, they're always opening up so many new places that you can't really, it's hard to be like, okay, where do you go? Because you only have such little time. So some of the places that my tried and true, which I love, is Top Thai. Every single time. I'm a Thai girl, you can tell, right?
Actually, sorry, I'm actually going there for lunch in 3 hours.
I'm so jealous. Please have the skirt steak with the rice for me. Oh, that's my favorite. And yeah, their food's incredible. I've literally, anyone who goes to New York, that's the place that I tell them to go, and everyone always says amazing things. So Top Thai is always the first. This time I actually went, I love brunch. I'm a brunch fanatic. So I actually went to Meat and Bread with my husband for brunch, and it was really good. I wasn't expecting anything crazy. I mean, I saw reviews online, but I was you know what, let's just check it out. And I was really, really impressed. Their food had really it was super fresh, and the service was amazing. And I was so surprised that it was halal, to be honest. So that was probably one of the top now. And then one thing that I always like to look for are places that are a little bit higher end or fancier, just so that you have options. Because I think it's easier now to find places that are a little bit more easy to grab, grab and go takeout. But one place that has actually a Michelin star, which and you probably know what this is. Ooh, your face lit up, which is Janoon, which I love. Janoon's always been one of those places that it's fancy. It's one of those places you can go for a nice meal, but because it has a Michelin star behind it too, you're kind of okay, it's on our bucket list. So to know that there's a halal option there was something that I enjoyed trying for the first time, and now we go back whenever we're visiting. So I would say those are the ones that are kind of in the city. There's so many more outside of the city and so many more in the city, but those are probably my top. And then Miami. So because I know that it's hard for people to find it in Miami when it comes to halal, because they don't really advertise as much. A couple places that I'm going to name, and this will probably be my longer list, just because I want to tell everybody where to go. So my first one would be Magdous. And that's actually a Middle Eastern Mediterranean type of place. And they've got a beautiful patio in the back. If you don't know that it exists, you wouldn't even know, but it's tucked away. It's really nice. It was great for outdoor eating during COVID as well. And Miami weather's beautiful, so might as well take advantage of it. So their food's delicious. Their chops are something you have to try. So I would definitely recommend that. And then another one in more in the Brickell area is called Talking Tacos. So if you're in Miami, you got to have something that's, Mexican. You got to have something that's tacos. And theirs are phenomenal, and 100% halal menu, delicious. The vibe's really good. So that's something that I would say is probably on my top now. And then I was telling you about the hot chicken that we got, which is a little bit further out, but it's, Hot Chicks, and their chicken is fantastic. I will drive the 45 minutes to get their chicken. So that's probably number 3. And then there's another steakhouse, because can you clearly tell what my favorite cuisines are? So there's Edge Steakhouse, which is actually located in the Four Seasons downtown, and they have halal options as well. And they're very good about their halal options. They have quite a few. They're coming from Australia. They're coming from Creekstone. So definitely their steak. I took my husband there and he tried it and he was like, this might be the best steak that I've ever had. So yeah, I was surprised too, but it was really, really good. So that's Edge Steakhouse. And then lastly, I would say a good Persian spot, which is Shav Kebabs. And their food every time is whenever we have a large gathering, people over, we'll always order from there because their food is great. It's, a big crowd pleaser. Anyone can have it in terms of spice level and everything. So definitely you need some of those spots. And that's pretty much my list right now.
That was super incredible. Thank you so much. Our audience is gonna love that. What I tell people is one of the hardest things about doing this podcast for me is that we usually, do these recordings in the middle of the day when it's close to lunch. And then I have to hear all these wonderful options and I just get so hungry. Um, but again, the good news is, like I said, I'm going to lunch in a couple of hours at Top Thai and I'll take care of that.
Yeah.
So moving on. Um, we at Halal Run, we love celebrating the community. We love celebrating each other. We're really grateful to people like yourself who take the time to make the community aware of what's out there. Um, Tell us a little bit. But there's the other great thing about the halal blogger community is that a lot of them know each other and are friends with each other and support each other. So who are some of the other halal food bloggers, um, in whether they're focused on the cities that you are in or other places in North America, that you know or admire, or who else is out there that people should know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, when it comes to halal bloggers, there's so many. And like you said, we're kind of like a community, which is really nice. And one of the people that, inspired me and where I started kind of looking at when I was in New York was Halal NYC. And they have so much content that's amazing. And so anytime I'm just, looking for somewhere to eat and I'm like, okay, let me find the new places that have come up before a trip. I'm always scrolling through their page and be like, okay, this is a good, place to start. So I think they've been around for a little while and they're doing fantastic. So, definitely think that their, content, their food is really great. So if you're looking for New York, definitely, and they're across, all of New York. And then the other one I would say is the Hungry Hijabi in Toronto. So she's actually, like, I love her. She's such a sweet girl. And we ended up meeting when we did some of our blogger events. And, I saw her a couple of times at the events and we would kind of chat for a bit. And, she always has a smile on her face too. And her reviews, everything, like, super honest, super, like, and that's what I love about her. So that's somebody that, I would say, definitely a great place to follow in Toronto. And, a person that I look to a lot. And honestly, with you guys, like, I love what you're doing. So Halalrun, obviously I'm not, you didn't ask me to say this, I'm being honest, but when, like, it was funny.
This is not a paid promotion for all of you watching YouTube. I don't have to put a special disclaimer or anything. Yeah.
It's not. No, but you know what? So it's funny when I introduced my husband to, you guys, and I was like, hey, look at, like, because in New York, he was kind of like following the people in New York because he was living there longer than I was. But here I was like, okay, I need to look, now that I'm in Miami, I need to look for somebody who's going to have places everywhere. And like when we're traveling, like we went to Atlanta and we were like, okay, let's look up, places as well. So I feel like you guys have a really great, baseline. And before, everyone used to go to Zabiha, right? And I feel like they don't have the extensive lists anymore and they're not updating that as frequently. So honestly, I do tend to go to your platform and I look it up and I'll be like, all right, this is the zip that I'm in. And I always find places that I never knew of. So that's my honest opinion. And you might think that, that's something that I'm trying to just put a smile on your face. I'm not. It's true. And I appreciate it. So I think you guys are doing a really fantastic job.
Thank you. Even if you were just trying to put a smile on my face, it would have worked. Thank you.
That always helps, right?
Yeah. So, along similar lines, Alia, we just love celebrating the community in general. And so we always ask people, who are some of the kind of Muslim Americans or Muslim Canadians, 1, 2, any number that you want to talk about, outside of the food, in or outside, just, in any walk of life, that you admire and why?
Okay. Well, I would say, because blogging and kind of looking into all of that in the last little while, reporters for me, especially Muslim reporters, I feel have been, people that I look up to because I'm like, it's not an easy market. It's not something that, it can be controversial. And honestly, Mehdi Hassan has been somebody who I've always looked up to. And I think, he's incredible and he's phenomenal. So, I think for that, when it comes to, the being able to talk about topics that are a little bit more controversial, that are things that people don't necessarily, normally talk about. And I think that he does a fantastic job with that. And then staying on that same topic and staying on, reporters and such, there's also, Janella, and she, for City News, and she, is amazing. And I think she's doing a really great job. And she's starting to get a lot more Muslims because she's a hijabi, because she's somebody who, right away looking at her, that she's a Muslim. It's really incredible to see what she's doing with the platform and what she's able to inspire when it comes to that. And I actually have a friend who I wanted to shout out to as well, she's always been passionate about writing, and she started writing a lot more. And that was also, due to seeing some of the things that, she was doing. And Zara Kamani, she's been doing a great job. She's writing for, a number of really great news sources, and really starting to open up the window and talking about topics that are really impactful. Impactful, especially to new moms, to people that you can relate to. So I would just say that I'm starting to really look at that market and really admire people from bringing up topics and bringing up things that as Muslims we really want to start looking at and relating to. So yeah,
those are all awesome picks. Alia, thank you so much for coming on today. And like I said earlier, we're a big fan of what our halal bloggers do. Like what I've found is the great thing about the halal food industry is that so many people are doing it just for the love of the community and to help out, right? Whether it's creators like yourself, and even the restaurateurs, right? So many of them are doing it just to serve the community. And so we're real appreciative of anyone who takes the effort to put information out there or content out there to help people eat halal better and connect with the community more. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And it was great chatting with you. And again, thank you again for what you're doing. It's really opened up a great market for us here in Florida as well. So thank you.
Yeah. And if you and your husband ever visit New York again, we'll make a trip to Top Thai or any one of the other spots, that Junoon or some other place that
100%.
on our list. All right.
Sounds
Okay,
great.
Alia, thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thanks. Take care.
Thanks for watching. As a reminder, Halalrun is the leading guide to halal eating options in North America. We feature over 13,000 restaurants in 2,000 cities on our website. That's at halalrun.com. And you can find us on all our socials, where our handle is at halalrun. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so we can bring you more great content just like this. Thank you very much, and we are here to serve you.